Hi, Sarah from SNR Medaka USA. Before I start this presentation, I want to mention something. Since I also sell Medaka, some of the topics that I'm going to talk about can feel a little sensitive, and that's actually why I wanted to bring them up, not to criticize anyone, but to think together where this hobby is heading and what direction feels right for all of us. My hope is that by opening these conversations, we can support each other and build a hobby that grows in a healthy and positive way. That's why I decided to share this presentation. And before we go any further, I want to make one thing very clear. Nothing I say today applies to everyone, and none of this is meant as a rule or something people must follow. I'm not here to tell anyone how they should keep their fish. If someone keeps medaka simply as a beautiful pond fish or aquarium fish, that is completely fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with enjoying them for their color or movement or personality. And actually, that's part of what makes medaka so special. They're one of the easiest ornamental fish to breed and even for beginners, and they're incredibly versatile. You can cross different types and develop new lines and while preserving, important traits. And because the entry barrier is so low, anyone can enjoy them, whether they're maintaining a stable line or simply just keeping them for fun. The topics that I'm going to focus on today are mainly for people who want to use Japanese name or who want to preserve specific traits and lines and line histories. For those who care about the lineage, naming, and also the trait preservation, these details matter. And challenges usually don't begin when someone is just keeping medaka for fun or not selling, and the problem usually come up when Japanese name are used for selling fish that no longer match the original lines or traits. And that's what I want to talk about and how we can handle this in a responsible way as the hobby grows. So today I want to talk about how medaka hobby is in the US can grow in a steady and healthy way. And Japan has given us so many inspiring lines and ideas, and we've learned a lot from them. And like any other, hobby that grows quickly, there were also challenges along the way. And when we understand both the strength and the struggle Japan went through, it becomes easier to see what direction feels right for our hobby here. So the main message that I want to emphasize is very simple. It's not about speed, volume, or and the price. It's about the longevity, quality, and the trust. If we focus on these values from the start, we can grow in a steady and healthy way. One challenge that developed in Japan over the time was that medaka began to seem more as something to profit from than something to enjoy. I want to say this carefully because I'm also a seller and misunderstandings can happen. But when the focus shifts from how much or how fast, beginners learn the prices before they learn about the fish, and the creators start aiming for quick results instead of stable and thoughtful lines. This is not an easy topic. A hobby grows when people genuinely enjoy it and feel connected to it, and that's how market naturally develops. But when the business side becomes the main focus, the conversation can become complicated and sometimes even create tension. So the key is finding the right balance, a balance where medaka remain enjoyable, meaningful, and sustainable for everyone. And if we build our market, our community around that balance, the hobby will naturally grow in a healthy way. For the US Medaka market to grow in a healthy way, we need to look at it with a long-term mindset. We should build a culture that values education, clear lineage, and ethical breeding, and simple just joy of keeping Medaka. When hobbyists have good information, when creators can develop their lines responsibly, and when strain histories stay organized and easy to follow, the whole community grows stronger. And if we, focus on clarity and stability from the beginning, we can build a Medaka culture that's strong, supportive, and sustainable, um, and one that truly fits the needs and value of the US hobby. Because the US market is still in its early stage, this is the perfect time to create standards, to call something a new strain, it should go through several generations of selections and show stable expression. Lines that aren't stable yet should be clearly labeled as project lines. And weak and or deformed fish should be responsibly culled or not sold. These early standards will determine the overall quality of our future market. One issues that came up in Japan was mixing or changing of line names. Sometimes fish unrelated to the original line were sold under that name, or sometimes names were changed to make a line seem new. And we can avoid that with a simple approach. Always credit the original, creator, and clearly show who raised the later generations. For example, this is the F3 generations of Miyuki line traced directly back to the original creator, or, the breeder XYZ. This keeps information honest and respects the creator's work and helps buyer understand exactly what they're getting. Um, Eggs are something we should look at with a little bit of care. They are easy to pack and ship, and they're much easier. They can also be misrepresented. Sometimes the lineage isn't clear, or the fish that hatch look very different from the photos used to advertise them, which can confuse beginners. Another thing to be mindful of it is that when eggs arrive from overseas by regular postal mail or EMS, um, they aren't going through any formal import process or documentations. This makes the true origin of the lines even harder to confirm. Eggs themselves are not the issue. The key is to make sure the information stays clear, transparent, and traceable. When the new fish arrive, quarantine is something we really shouldn't skip. Giving them their own space for a short time lets you observe them and see how they're settling in, and make sure everything looks right before joining your main group. It's a simple step that protects the line you already worked hard on, and when more hobbyists follow this habit, the whole community benefits. In the US, our market is shaped in a way that gives us a unique advantage. Direct communication between breeders and hobbyists is very common. And even when shops are involved, we can keep things transparent by clear sharing the lineage and history, or the creator credits, or the care notes. And if we explain the reason behind the price, whether high or low, it naturally builds trust. A simple and transparent distribution system benefits everyone. In Japan, a lot of new and exciting lines were created, but sometimes the focus on new lines made some of the original and important lines fade away. Here, we have many hobbyists who are motivated and curious, and people who want to learn and keep records and take care of their fish properly. We can use that strength to preserve meaningful lines and pass them forward, and support the new breeders who want to grow. The community atmosphere decides how the whole hobby feels. If the beginners are afraid to ask questions, the hobby shrinks. If people correct each other in a helpful way, the hobby grows. When someone has the wrong information, we don't criticize, we explain. We offer reasons, explanations, and support. This makes the hobby open and welcoming to everyone. To keep any line strong, simply records really help. Things like who the parents were, what generation you're working on, and when you brought the line in, just basic notes can make a huge difference. These notes help you to see how the line is changing, what the traits what traits are showing up, and what to select for the next. And when you share or sell fish, clear records also help people trust what they're getting. If we make this a habit early, it becomes one of the strengths of the hobby here. And good records protect our lines and make everything easier for everyone. In Japan, prices often started very high and then dropped quickly. And over the time, people learned to wait for the price to fall, which weakened the market. Here, stable pricing is better for everyone. Not too extreme at the beginning, fewer sudden discounts, and more focus on explaining value through quality and the line history. And that's what keeps the hobby steady. Another strength that we have here in the US is simply the environment we're in. We have so much outdoor space, and because of that, hobbyists can work with a wide range of environment, larger tubs, different climates, the natural sunlight, and various seasonal setups. And this gives people a lot of freedom to try different things and figure out what works best for them. And something I really appreciate is how many breeders here openly share their experiences through videos and photos and online posts. When people show how they keep their fish and how their lines develop and what they've learned along the way, it lifts the whole hobby and it spreads better information, helps new hobbyists to feel supported, and keeps everyone connected. With all these strengths around us, we have the chance to build a really supportive environment, one where hobbies can grow in healthy and meaningful ways and slowly develop lines that reflect their own care and passion. To wrap everything up, the heart of this hobby is actually very simple. It's not about the speed, volume, or price. It's about longevity, quality, and the trust. When we keep those values at the center, our Medaka community grows in a steady and honest and meaningful way. And before I finish, I want to leave you with one more thought. A healthy hobby is built on transparency. If someone asks, where did your fish come from? A transparent seller should be able to give you clear answer. When people avoid sharing that information, it usually means their foundation isn't strong. But when we are open, honest, and willing to share what we know, trust grows, and the hobby grows right along with it. And thank you for listening.